Hey everyone, so in today's video, I would like to show you how you can perform geo-referenced or geographical segmentation in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. I will switch to my slides to explain that in detail. And here you can see that we'll talk about indeed creating geo-referenced segments or audience segments in SFMC. And we are going to solve this problem. So how to target customers within a certain distance or radius from your business unit. So this is specifically useful for automotive or retail retail industries, for example. If you know the current address of the business unit, and you would like to target the customers that are neighbors to this business unit or those who stay nearby and can come to your shop or service facility to have some services or buy some goods. So I suggest the following agenda for this short video. First, let's calculate the distances between postcodes. So in order to calculate distances between two places, we will base ourselves on the postcodes. And this should give us enough information to understand how far our different regions are from each other. Second step would be creating a data extension with distance information. So all the information that we get in the first step, we should write into a data extension in Salesforce Marketing Cloud that we can use afterwards. And lastly, we should use this data for audience segmentation in Salesforce Marketing Cloud, or in other words, apply the distances information in our campaigns or in our targeting approach. So let's start right away. And I would like to start with the first step. So the first step is to create a list of postcodes that you wish to know distance to or from. So let's assume that we are based in a certain location, in a certain address that you already know. So the next step is to gather the postal codes that are around your location of your facility, of your building, and then to make them in a list. If you think that you can cover all the regions in your city, but you apply different approaches based on the distance, then it makes sense to get all the list of all the postal codes in your city. Then the next step would be, so either use online tools to calculate distances automatically, or use Google Maps feature called measure distance between points. And I would like to briefly show you how that works. So if we switch to Google Maps, let's try to calculate the distance between two postal codes. Let's say 2017. So I look 2070 Antwerp postcode. Yep. And now on the map, you can see that Google Maps highlighted the area which is covered by this postcode. Then if you do the right click, you can click on the measure distance. And now you see the dot, this dot will appear here. The next step is, let's take another postcode, for example, 2050. And now we place another dot approximately in the center of this area. And I would click, do the right click and choose distance to here. And now you can see the total distance would be 3 kilometers or 1.9 miles. Yeah, so you can measure distances to all of this, between all of the postal codes, or just use the online solutions that do that automatically. For example, there are many websites that can do it for the UK, for the US, or for many other countries and cities. So feel free to discover the one that works best for you. And then the next step is to save the results into a spreadsheet with the following columns. So we only need 2 columns, which would be postal code and distance in kilometers. Let's have a quick look how that would look like. So here I have a spreadsheet where I have all the postal codes and distances to that postal codes in kilometers. So I have different values. This is just an example. Let's say there are 2 kilometers for 15, 25, so that we have different data here. So once this is done, we can proceed to the next step. The next step is to create a data extension with this distance information. So we will create a data extension with the following fields. Postal code should be the type number, And since postal code cannot be repeated, cannot be added twice, that should be the primary key in this data extension. Secondly, we'll also add another field, distance in kilometers or miles, depending on your metric system, and the type should be number. Then the last step here would be to import your spreadsheet with distance information to the data extension that we have just created. And you can do it using either Email Studio or Contact Builder. So let's have a look how that can be done. And here you can see that I created a data extension, demo postal codes distance, and I have the postal code field here and distance in kilometers field here. And I simply imported the spreadsheet that we have just created into this data extension. Yep. So we are already halfway through, and we should just proceed to the last step. The last step is to use the data extension for audience segmentation. And before using this, so you actually need to define the data relationship between your customers or contacts data extension and the data extension we have just created. So this step may vary depending on the segmentation approach that you are using. And I prepared the next slides to show you a bit more details to reflect each of the approaches that you can use. After we define the relationship, then we can use the distance in kilometers or miles, again, that depends, as a filter in your campaigns. So let's have a look. And let's say if you are using deselect, then you can just predefine the data relationship in the admin panel. And you would see for any segment that you create, fields will be set according to a predefined relation. So we need to set that customers and postal code or data extension we just created, postal codes distance, relate based on the postal code fields in both data extensions. If you are using SQL queries, then each time you create a segment, you would need to write the following line or two lines, where you need to write inner join between customers data extension and the data extension we just created. So that would be customers.postal code equals your data extension dot postal code. And it can look like that. So again, it should join based on the postal code fields in both data extensions. Lastly, if you use filtered data extensions, you can also predefine this in your Email Studio, where you can define new data relationship. And again, so the process would be the same. So you need to define that customers and postal code data extensions relate on postal code fields in both data extensions. All right, so once this step is done, then we can actually proceed and use this information for audience segmentation. I suggest we can have a very quick look on how this can be used in your real-time campaign. So I will switch to deselect in this case, and I will create a new selection where I would like to find customers that live within the 10 kilometers range from the current business unit. So I'll give it a name. Let's say customers in 10 kilometers radius. I need to correct this. Yeah, so customers in 10 kilometer radius. And then I will first add customers data extension. We'll use the demo data here. So customers here. I will just rename the alias to customers. Then I also would like to know what are the sales that were performed to these customers. And in this specific example, let's take a use case of an automotive industry. So let's say we are a car dealer, and we want to find only those customers who bought a certain car model and who live within a certain radius around your business unit. So I will add sales data extension, and I will name it car sales. So the data relationship is predefined, so I don't need to do much about it. I just need to choose the data relationship here if needed, and I can change the contact ID field here, since customers relate to sales data extension based on the contact ID. And the next step is, let's add the postal codes data extension here. And I will drop it on top of customers data extension, since I want to make the relationship between customers and postal codes distance. So this is the data extension we have just created. And now, as you can see, since we predefined the relationship, well, fields are set according to a predefined relation. So it's postal code and postal code. And I don't need to perform any other changes. We are good to go here. All right. So now we know information about any sales that were done to a customer and about all the postal codes and distances to those postal codes from the current business unit. Now let's apply the filters that we have just created. And we can simply go to the field called distance in kilometers. And we can apply the filter called smaller than or equal to 10. So this is exactly the filter that would give you the possibility to filter or target your audience within the 10 kilometers range or radius around your business unit. Let's make it a bit more complex and also ensure that we target only customers who bought certain car models. 1, 2, 3, 4, 11, and 8 and 9. Right. So here we would like to find only those customers who bought these car models. For example, if you want to offer them services and you know that you only serve these car models, you would like to invite your customers to, for example, check the engine or to fix the window, etc. Right. And then let's proceed to the second step. So here we can create a new target data extension quickly. So let's say 10 kilometer radius customers. We define that this data extension should be sendable. And here you can simply click add all fields. So in one click, you can add all the fields from our source data extension. And also let's add one more field from postal codes data extension, which is distance in kilometers. I will not personalize my data extension further. I will just click save and now it's good to go. So now this data extension is already generated and saved in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. And let's see the preview of this selection. So while our penguin is sliding, we are expecting to see a preview of all the customers who bought certain car models and who stay within a distance or radius from your business unit. So you can use this information to target, for example, customers in many industries. Mostly it can be useful for offering additional services or warranty extension services to those customers who made a purchase within a certain time limit. All right. So here we have a quick look on what should be how should the SQL query look like if you want to write it in a SQL. Yep. So yeah, we look distance in kilometers smaller than or equal to 10, and car model is one of these models. All right, there we go. So now we have 51 customer, and here we can see their distance in expressed in kilometers, and you can see that it's always less than 10. And we are good to go. So now we can use this data extension to send a campaign via Email Studio, create a journey in Journey Builder, or send them SMS notifications via Mobile Studio. I hope this was useful, and I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Please feel free to add some comments if you think that this video was useful. And if you have any questions, if you would like any parts to be clarified more, or if you have any suggested topics that you would like to be covered in these videos too, please drop them in comments. Thank you and have a good day.